Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the last session of the 2023 ABE Support Staff Conference this year. Welcome. My name is Linda Keller. I currently work with Metro North Adult Basic Education. I've been part of adult education for, I thought it was 27 years. It's actually been 29. I started as a support staff in the 90s and came back in 2000. I left for a couple years and came back in 2000, and from 2000 to 2005 I delivered intake to new students for both ABE and ESL, and then I did data entry for the program. So the role that I'm currently in, accountability coordinator, scary title, fun job, do all things SID related, SID training related, CASAS and TABE testing. And for those of you who don't know much about Metro North or anything about Metro North, we're either the 5th or 6th largest program of adult basic ed in the state of Minnesota. We have a variety of programming. We serve some inner city as well as rural areas. We've got programming in 3 different corrections locations. We're co-located in a career force center. We've got classes delivered in schools as well as churches. So we actually have one that's been delivered in a trailer park out in Elk River also. Just wide variety of programming. So I'm fortunate enough to have experience with all of the above, just and having been here as long as I have. So I also serve on a team of trainers with Marty Olson and Dave Haugen for delivering CASAS and TABE testing. Not a licensed teacher, but resourceful, and hopefully the information that I'm sharing today is going to be helpful for you. I'm going to turn off my camera and I've got my timer set. So hopefully we'll have some time at the end to ask questions also. And you know, the information that I'm sharing is going to be included in the participant folder that Heather Williams will be sharing also here. So today's agenda is we're going to talk about new testing that's coming out and updated testing. We're going to take a brief tour of the Minnesota ABEassessment.com site, which houses all things testing for Minnesota. And there's tons of resources that I don't know if a lot of people know about all of the information. So we're going to do a tour of that. We're going to talk about online and remote testing usage here in Minnesota that we do know about. And then we're going to have time at the end for question and answers too. But my information is going to be there. If you have questions after today's session that you didn't feel that are answered, please feel free to email me and I'll answer them as best I can, or I'll find out who would be the best point of contact to be answering the question for you. So I'd like to know why you are here in today's session. If you could put it in the chat. I'm just curious as to why people are all here. Give you like a minute to throw information in there. New testing information. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. I want to be on the cutting edge. Yeah, you will be, hopefully, after today, Michael. Okay. All right. So if you're really new, you may not know the questions that you need to ask, but again, this is going to all be recorded and posted out on the channel, the MDE YouTube channel after today. So welcome. All right. So big question is, why do we test an ABE? And hopefully I don't mess up these slides as I'm doing remote advancing with them. So there's a lot of different reasons that we test students. The biggest reason though is we want to find out basic information about what a student knows when they land at our door, whether it's in reading, writing, speaking, math, etc. We want to establish the best class placement in your agency for the learner when you're delivering instruction. We need to provide guidance for teachers because each individual is unique and they each have individual instructional needs. We also need to establish an entry level or a baseline with an education function level with an NRS approved test. And then we need to use that entry level testing that was delivered during enrollment when taking into consideration the post testing that needs to be done to determine if they're grasping the understanding of the instruction that is being provided. So, and then the bigger reason too is program accountability. We're getting funding from the state of Minnesota. We're getting funding from the federal government. We need to provide and show effectiveness that our programs are effective, and testing will do that. So who is eligible to administer assessments? Here in Minnesota, any ABE staff who has gone through an implementation training, either in CASAS or TABE, any staff who has completed certification training found either at the casas.org website or the TABE site, or any staff who has completed their recertification training here in Minnesota with the Department of Ed with our training team. So what do we know about the new ESL tests? This is just going to be brief coverage because there's a lot more information that's provided in different links, and those will be shared on the next slide or so. But right now, we can continue using CASAS Life and Work series in both reading and listening for English language learners, but that test is sunsetting on June 30th of next year. We did get a newer version of an English language test that was just approved this last summer on July 13th by the National Reporting System. And that series is called CASAS Steps. And CASAS Steps has both a reading and a listening test that can be delivered, and it was approved for use by the Minnesota Department of Education on 11/1. That came out in an email. And that reporting for the National Reporting System is going to be good through July 13th of 2030. What do we know about the new ABE tests? We know that currently we have CASAS Goals Reading, and that Goals Reading test is still approved for use for NRS reporting through February of 2025. There is a CASAS Goals Math test. It is just called Math Goals, and that test is going to be sunsetting June 30th of next year. But there was a new version of the CASAS Goals math test called Math Goals 2. That test got approved by the National Reporting System on July 13th this year, and then by Minnesota Department of Education on 11/1, again, in an email, and that test series and subject can be used for NRS reporting through July 13th of 2030. What do we know about TABE testing updates? We know that right now the TABE 11/12 is approved for NRS reporting through September 30th of next year in reading, math, and language subjects. But what we also know is that federal approval dates, when they fall mid-year, providers are typically allowed to use the test through the end of the federal reporting year, which ends on June 30th, but usage date for that could possibly be extended if the Department of Ed decides to extend the approved usage dates. We do know and got confirmation of this from Data Recognition Corporation, or DRC, who is the publisher of TABE. The TABE 13 and 14 for reading, math, and language was submitted to the National Reporting System for approval on October 1st. So just stay tuned. As we learn new information, that information will be shared with the field and by the Department of Ed during our webinar updates. So if you're interested in learning more great information about the new CASAS tests and series, there's 2 really great articles, and there's links in today's session, but take the time to read them. The first article came out in July, on July 24th, and then the second article that came out on October 24th. So both of them are really great, helpful articles that give you a really good bird's eye view of everything, and including some ordering information about getting new materials for your agency. So So any questions about that section? No. All right. So then we're going to move to the next session. So I need to see in the chat who has used and gone out to the mnabeassessment.com site. Can I see yeses and nos? And yep, Laura Malat. All right, Laura. Yes. Awesome. Mary Kate, awesome. Heather, great. So we've had some people use it. Great. So here's what we're going to showcase. I'm not going to click on the link. Take the time today after today's session and go out there and here's a brief tour. Awesome design, super easy to navigate through, organized, very specific to whatever it is that you're looking for. The home tab has a breakdown of training tabs that you can click on for information about CASAS, TABE, and then other training opportunities. There are instructional links for teachers that are specific to CASAS and TABE and approved tests. And there's also some information about different presentations that have been done that we were able to record. There's information about the Spark committee out there, including the roster, information about support staff conferences, and so forth. So that is the homepage. On the homepage, you will also see, and we periodically get asked questions about training calendars and when there are upcoming trainings that are going to be held. Whenever training is scheduled, whether it's for implementation trainings for CASAS, TABE, or for recertification, those trainings are going to be added to the calendar. So if you click under the home tab and you go under the calendar submenu, you will find out if there's any upcoming trainings that are scheduled. All right, so if you're in the site and you choose to go out onto the CASAS tab, these are all the different links and information that is currently living on this site. There's information about implementation training. There's information about computer-based and remote testing. There's information about paper-based certification and so forth. There's a lot of, go to casas.training.org if you need to attend a training that isn't live or virtual. And then if you look on the bottom of that CASAS link, you're going to see Minnesota-made resources relating to CASAS, as well as CASAS competency lesson plan links, and then test competency links. And here's where you're going to find any presentation and handout and PowerPoints that were previously done that we posted out on that site also. So if you click on the CASAS tab, you're going to see information that's relating to everything with TABE. There's a certification process that'll allow you to do a self-paced module if you're not attending a live or a virtual TABE training. You can find that information here. There's also information about computer-based testing and remote testing and different templates that have been added out there that individual agencies have created and shared. There's information also about TABE test prep links and resources for standards instruction and Minnesota-made resources. If you were in the session before this one, there was information I shared about answer sheets that were created by individual agencies for TABE that those agencies have shared, so you don't have to create answer sheets and you don't have to buy answer sheets from DRC to use if you're using paper-based testing at your local programs. And then the last tab that is on here, actually, I think there's one additional tab, but that has information about Spark and the rosters and the support staff conference, and as well as the support professional certificate that you can earn by attending today's conference and submitting paperwork. There is a tab here also with all of the different supplemental services that are offered through the ABE support staff network, because many don't know about these, and there's a lot of great resources that are out here for Minnesota that are paid through grants. And there's a lot of professional people here in adult basic and in Minnesota that work for each of these supplemental services. So feel free to tap into them. They're free to use to programs here in Minnesota. So a lot of great work going on in them too. Any questions about that section? Okay. So we're gonna move on to, actually we're gonna share this. I think I must have inserted this slide a little too quickly, but as programs share information, we're gonna update that Minnesota ABE website with local programs, developments. There's a lot of different cheat sheets that programs have developed for training new staff, for working within the DRC Insight platform to help produce diagnostics and things like that. I'm going to be sharing some that I've created here at Metro North that have some good visuals. If you have documents that you'd be willing to share, please email them to either Marty or I, so that we can post them on the site if you're willing to share. There is no use in recreating wheels. Everybody shares in Minnesota. So if you've got items that you're willing to share, great, please do that. All right, so next section here, we're going to talk about TAB Online. There was a survey done the last several years from the MDE staff to find out which programs were interested in using TAB Online, and they were requesting the TAB Online test admins that MDE had purchased, and they created online accounts and they're delivering TAB Online. So these are the programs that we know about that are currently using it. There's quite a few, so not everybody is real forthright about sharing that they're using it, but Metro North uses it right now at 3 different locations. And these are the programs that we know about. Actually, I think there's 18 programs that are using it in Minnesota based on the last survey that was done, and I was only able to find 14 of the names. So I don't know if some of them have multiple accounts, but I know Metro East is using it quite widely at several of their centers too. And then we know, oh, actually here we're going to cover take a test update. So e-test users here in Minnesota, there was an email that got sent out to the main point of contact for your agency, telling you and advising you that any devices that e-testing was being delivered on needed to have a security update done on those devices, and it was a new URL to deliver the e-testing. So when I received the email, I moved it out to all of our sites that were delivering e-testing, and I worked with our tech support here with Anoka Hennepin, and we made sure that the devices or local staff really made sure that the new URL was put in place on devices that were delivering. However, in the last week, I've gotten multiple questions from different programs who got the message that says, you have 29 days. Actually, I think it's probably different because I inserted this slide several days ago, but it's telling programs they have 29 days to adopt the Take a Test security download onto their testing devices. What I also found is that proctors were getting the same message, whether or not their device had been updated. Just make sure that if you haven't already done that locally, you can click on the link when you're logging into the e-test site to launch a test session. Click on that Take a Test user guide and follow the prompts that are provided there. Minnesota is using the global server, so that's the server that you need to choose. But if you have any questions whatsoever and you haven't updated your testing devices, you can always contact CASA's tech support. Their number is here, as well as the tech support email. They've got really seasoned staff that work with their tech support. I know all of them by first name. They're fabulous. and they're super helpful, and they'll get you what you need and not take a long time to do it. It's not super difficult, so if you haven't already done that, make sure that you do. All right. So remote testing. Here's the programs that we know are delivering remote testing as of this fall here in Minnesota. We've got Central Minnesota is delivering remote testing. I think Metro East is a bigger user of remote testing. Metro North is delivering remote testing with TABE for the Anoka Ramsey Community College, the Anoka Technical College, and our distance learning teacher is delivering it remotely one-on-one. And then we are doing it in our GED prep classes, but we're only doing it for post-testing. We found that many learners do ask for remote testing, but there's a lot of specifics that we need to find out before remote testing is delivered. So it's really best to like try to figure out what's going to work with your local program if you're interested in remote testing. Metro South has done remote testing with CASAS. Minneapolis has done some remote testing also. I do believe that they did it in early COVID because that's when remote testing was launched by both TABE and CASAS, and then the options were there. But Northwest Service Cooperative is delivering CASAS remote testing, and Southwest ABE has done it also. And then SCRED with Pine County Community College is delivering TABE remote testing. So remote testing. What do we know about remote testing for those of us who've used it? There's a lot of bumps that you have to go through in order to launch it at your site and in your agency, but there really isn't a one size fits all for any program. A lot of variables to consider, including staffing available, staff technology comfort levels, ability to help troubleshoot learners that aren't super comfortable with technology. There's a device readiness check that needs to be used when TABE testing is being delivered, and Chrome needs to be used when TABE testing is being delivered, and those are really key. And if people aren't super comfortable with technology, sometimes it really takes a bit to launch a test session. My recommendation, just based on the experience that I've had in the last year and a half, is try it with one or two learners who are comfortable with technology and troubleshooting, or pilot it in a class where staff knows their existing learners, and just start small. Like, that is my hugest recommendation, is start small. And that is my 25-minute timer. Okay. Practice with your local staff who want to become comfortable with remote testing. You can create fake students in a system and just practice launching a test session, signing in as a fake student, knowing what they'll see. And there's remote testing guides out there for both CASAS and TABE, and videos that they've posted. I'm sharing in today's PowerPoint. There's a student sample letter that we use here and that we've really kind of customized to send out to students so that they know the steps. The remote testing documents from DRC and from CASAS are a little longer. This is a 1-page. You can copy and paste it and throw it in an email. Make sure they run the device readiness check. Make sure that they have Chrome installed. Make sure that they're comfortable with technology, and make sure that they have a Google Meet or a Zoom link, so forth. There's just, start small, try it. There's a learning curve, but we're all learning more technology every single day, including during today's conference and yesterday's conference also with the Zoom update. There is remote testing hub exploration, and there was an Illinois model in May that got presented at COABE that we've explored, and hope to meet with Illinois staff sometime in the next several months to just kind of get some additional information from them. But in the last CASAS update webinar, there was a session that was presented by the state of Oregon, who is doing remote testing with CASAS, and there's a link in here that goes directly to the video that they shared during that session. All right, so depending on how much you know about Metro North, I think I shared some of this earlier, but we're 8 school districts. We serve between 3,000 and 4,000 individuals a year, and about 2,500 of them are participants. A lot of full-time staff, so we have a full-time program manager, 3 full-time site supervisors, full-time volunteer coordinator, me as the accountability coordinator, and we have 2 full-time and 1 part-time central service data entry staff. We have 15 different sites, GED, 2 GED test center locations. The sites that we're delivering instruction in, we've got our Anoka Tech site delivers TEAS. We have DevEd math courses that are being delivered online. Our Anoka Ramsey site at the college delivers DevEd math. Our Blaine location is co-located in the job training or the career force. But we deliver ABE skills, ESL, GED prep, distance learning and adult diploma. Our Columbia Heights site has 7 different levels of English as a second language, and they serve DL. They have citizenship classes, they have healthcare pathways. We have programming in our Brooklyn Center Brooklyn Center Adult Education Center, which is located in a church. 3 different levels of ESL, and those are in person and online. We have programming in our elementary school at Brooklyn Center Elementary, and those are in person. We have in several high schools, we have it at Centennial High School, St. Francis High School. We have several county jails, and we do GED prep at the sheriff's jail. We have work release. We are starting up programming very soon at our Sherburne County Jail, which is a federal holding facility. They're going to do ESL and GED prep. And then our community ed center out in Elk River teaches everything. They are a 1-room schoolhouse, and they're currently teaching some OSHA math. They do credit recovery, and they're currently doing classes out at, it's called Dayton Mobile Hope, which is ESL in person, and then some high flex. We got programming in a workplace education location, which is Cummins and Fridley. And then we have our GED test center. So practices during enrollment. We do ABE enrollment. We test in reading and math at most of our locations, or language and math, or reading and language. Our ESL enrollment, we're testing in reading with life and work, and best plus testing depending on the location. And then post-testing practices, actually there's a link in here that you can see. We've really kind of refined and are constantly refining our placement charts for our specific locations. This is the most updated one that we have, but we're basing it and adapting it based on who's being served and how the student population fluctuates. So sometimes we have to shift. And then the post-testing practices are daytime classes. We're rotating subjects every other month with post-testing, and then evening programming, because we only meet 2 nights a week. We're post-testing every other month, and again, we're rotating subjects of testing. Sites that are serving under 300 students annually, the local staff monitor those that are eligible just kind of on a monthly basis. The link that's on the bottom here is the NRS outcomes by Metro North building. It's a template of a document that I update every 3 months based on post-testing rates, but you can see where we are at as a program just up through the end of September. So we have 15 minutes left for any questions that anybody has about any of the information I shared, or if there's any burning questions that brought you to today's session that you just don't know where to find the information, or you need to have answered so that you understand. So if you'd like to put it in the chat, or if you'd like to turn your camera on and ask the question, feel free to share. And Mankato is delivering remote tape testing too. Yay. Are you delivering it group Mary Kate, or are you doing individual testing? Both, awesome. Are you doing it during enrollment or is it more for the post testing? Okay. All right. Laura asked this question earlier. What assessments do you feel ABE students seem to adapt to much better? TABE, CASAS, goals? I can't speak for that. We use both series at Metro North depending on the location. That might be a state staff question. I don't know. Brad, do you have any feedback on that? Or Marty, do you have any feedback on that?
No, I don't really have good feedback on that. I think there used to be the standard that CASAs was kind of more for programs that were doing that thought or belief that CASAS was good for programs that were focusing more on life skills or kind of things. But if you're doing more academic, like college prep or diploma prep, that TABE seemed to be more aligned. Honestly, though, as with each new test that comes in and the new standards that have come in, I think that kind of breakdown has washed away. I don't think that same philosophy really holds anymore. Honestly, I think it really varies, like program by program, and honestly, even student by student, with those tests. And I feel even more disconnected because I haven't even utilized these new tests yet, right? So it's hard to say with as we implement the new tests what that will look like.
Yep. And me either. And with not being an instructor, I can't provide any feedback. So I know that many programs took the timing of the test into consideration when TABE 11 and 12 got approved. And then CASAS Gold was also approved, that there were programs that started using the CASAS Goals because of the length of time. So yeah, it's unique to each program. We actually at Metro North had several committees that we pulled together for people who had been here for some time to kind of analyze what they felt was better. And there were several sites that chose both or chose either or. And so larger sites are using the TAPE series right now. The colleges that we're working with Anoka Ramsey and Anoka Tech, they're using TAPE series also for now. So any other questions? Wow. Okay. Well, I'm glad that I had all of the information in there that nobody has questions. If there's if you have any questions, please feel free to email me after today. I'm gonna put my email in here. It's obviously on the slide too, but yeah, don't be afraid to email me, because if I don't know the answer, I'll find the source to provide you an answer, or the point person to provide you with an answer. Okay. And then I thank you for attending today's training. Hopefully we have another weekend that we will not get any snow here in Minnesota, but just keep our fingers crossed. I do want to point out that because today mine is the last session here that I'm delivering. You should watch your email for any emails from Heather, sharing the links for all of today's fabulous trainings and all of the resources that were for each specific session. There is an evaluation that we all want everyone who attended today's support staff conference to complete, because we use that information when designing next year's conference and taking all that into consideration. So if there were great sessions that you attended this year and you want more of the same, please let us know that. If there's sessions that you feel that, wow, I wish I would have had a session about this, but it wasn't offered, let us know that too. Again, the information that's in those surveys is what we're using to design next year's conference, so. All right. Then you're good to go. You get out 10 minutes early from today's session. So thanks again for attending today's session, or the last session of the day. And thank you for attending today's conference, and have a wonderful holiday season. And hopefully we'll see all of you next year. Thanks.